normal circumstances, you would think that people who sank over 300 hours into a game would be happy with DLC being released, right? I mean, to put that much time into a game, an absolutely repetitive fucking game with no story, no variety, and a shitload of missing content, that a DLC pack would be the thing to cure that, right? Well, much like a fucking YouTube order, Bungie can go fuck themselves. Holy shit, how do you manage to make Call of Duty developers look like confident people? That shit takes effort, man. For people who have the game, you know that the DLC is released, and by the time you watch this video, a number of groups have probably already defeated the raid and Crota and all that other stupid shit and posted it up on YouTube, Twitch, and all that other good stuff. For those who have no fucking clue what I'm talking about, the first DLC pack for the game officially releases today. The same pack that I have been bitching about for the past 3 months. Now, before I get into this video, I'll say this off the bat. I'm still seriously debating whether or not I should get this shit. I honestly don't know whether or not I should get it because it's not an easy decision. On one hand, I have no other games right now, and I don't plan on getting anything else. I know people are going to mention a few games. Dragon Age was a fantastic game, but I didn't get into it as well as the others, and I'm not about to do it right now, regardless if BioWare created a very similar co-op to Mass Effect 3. Same with Far Cry. Never got into it. Not getting Call of Duty, not getting The Crew, and I really have nothing else but some old PlayStation 3 games or Little Big Planet that was a below average game. So basically, I have nothing else right now. On the flip side, I've said this from day one, that Activision is bending us over and fucking gamers with no grease. This content that we're getting should have been part of the $60 game. The levels of the game were already built and just needed to be populated with enemies. The guns were already in the database. The missions were already created far in advance, and the content looks repetitive as always. We got no story in the beginning, and these 3 missions, the strike missions or whatever the fuck, and the raid are not going to change that. The fucking strike missions are already bullshit. One has the boss Omnigul or Omnigul, however the fuck you want to pronounce that shit, and she was in the second ever video that Bungie posted up about this game. What the fuck? 18 months ago you had a character, and that doesn't make it into the game at release, and you're gonna sell this shit as DLC? Come on, man, how's that fucking ethical? You have a second boss, which looks identical to the Nexus, a big-ass Hydra with splash damage that eats bullets like a motherfucker. God damn it, how original is that shit? Outside of the raid, which hopefully has some new features, this shit is essentially a repeat process. The Undying Mind mission alone really blows my mind because the DLC is all about the dark below. What are the Hive doing below the moon? Meanwhile, we get this fucking Vex mission in the Black Garden in a map we already played at the end of the fucking game. Holy goddamn shit, man. But the biggest kick in the dick was Bungie raising the level cap. What initially sounded like a decent idea when it was announced months ago has equated to one giant cunt punt on so many fronts. I mean, the amount of shit this level cap is fucking with really makes you wonder why bother with this DLC in the first place. By raising the level cap, it actually sounds like we have more leveling up to do, right? Well, not exactly. The main issue people have is that we need new equipment to get to level 32. Only found in the fucking raid. Yes, the only way to hit the level cap is to play the fucking raid. But Bungie realized not everyone will buy the DLC because after all, why the fuck should we spend $20 on repeat shit, right? So they're adding level 31 gear to the game. But again, another kick in the dick. All that raid gear that we found in the prior raid in the Vault of Glass, all that gear that we suffered through random loot drops to get is not worth shit anymore. It's essentially going to be useless because Bungie decided to let new vendor gear be stronger than the older raid gear. So let me get this straight. You bragged about the Vault of Glass being the hardest thing ever created since titanium dildos, and now it's pointless because any schmuck can buy better gear in the tower if they play long enough. Fan-fucking-tastic. In addition to the levels, the guns are also getting fucked over. All the legendary items we have are going to be outclassed by the new legendary items that are already in the fucking database. All the shadow prices, the vanquishers, the zombie apocalypses will all become obsolete as people get better weapons that start out with higher damage points. Our exotic weapons are also getting fucked over in a way. Although I really do think that this is going to change instead. Instead of becoming obsolete, the exotics will have a path to be upgraded. Legendaries won't get that path, so all those raid weapons that we got in the first Vault of Glass will turn to junk once people start building up a new arsenal because they don't have an upgrade path. But our exotic guns and armor will be given paths to upgrade to attain higher levels in the game. If the guns didn't upgrade, essentially the new legendary items would be better, and it would show what a waste of time they were in the first place. Much like the legendaries we already have right fucking now, but here we at least have a path to upgrade them to at least scale to the damage. Not bad. That sounds legit, because after all, we're only getting like 5 new exotic weapons, so it's good to carry over all the old exotics. You get to keep your Suros, your Galahorn, and upgrade them if you wish, until Bungie lays out another kick in the dick. To upgrade your guns, you will have the option to trade them in, resetting all the progress and perks you worked for all these damn months. In trading in your 300 damage weapon guns fully upgraded, you will get an unranked 302 base weapon in return, but you need to rank that shit up all over again. Perks and progress will be reset. This is all optional. You have the choice whether you want to do this or not. If you elect to trade in your weapon, all your progress resets back to a bare-ass weapon, except the damage will go from 300 to 302 as the base damage, but you still have to rank it up all over again, except Bungie would like to add that you can now do it at an accelerated process. Fuck you, it's still having to unlock all the shit we already unlocked before and we used for months. In the case of the Suros and the Gjallarhorn, I had those weapons maxed out from the very beginning of the game. The second and third week that Xur was in the fucking tower, I had those guns, and now I have to do that shit all over again for more damage if I choose to do so. If I don't choose to do so, my weapons will remain at level 30 and with 300 damage. Ultimately, I will have a less powerful weapon than those who elected to reset their shit. Or even better, for people who happen to have two weapons, a ranked up weapon and an unranked up weapon, you can trade in the unranked weapon and it'll automatically get to that 302 base level damage. So let me get this straight, because me personally, I have the perfect case for this. In my vault right now, I have a maxed out Gjallarhorn that I've carried since day one that I bought that shit, and an unranked one that I just got in the Nexus Nightfall this past week. I kept the spare one because I was going to turn that into an exotic shard, but now that I know that I could trade it in, I can get rid of a 260 damage weapon, an unranked weapon, for a 302 base attack weapon, and rank it up quicker. So let me get this straight. My 260 attack weapon can be traded in to be higher base damage than my currently maxed out Gjallarhorn. Seriously, what the fuck? Why would you offer such a shitty trade-in deal to those who invested more time into this game? And I haven't even gotten to the biggest kick in the dick. This is like a steel-toe pointed boot straight to the nutsack type kick in the dick. You can only trade in these items every Friday when Xur arrives. No shit. Your only time to do these upgrades is when Xur comes every fucking Friday, when he will allow you the chance to upgrade any 12 items you wish. So let's go back to my Gjallarhorn example. I have two Gjallarhorns, but if Xur isn't offering up the Gjallarhorn special, I don't get shit the first fucking week. If he doesn't offer it up the second week, I have to wait again. And if it's not in the third week, I have to wait again. And in the fourth week, again. What the fuck? So once again, we're relegated to random rewards. I earn my Gjallarhorn, and yes, I call it a fucking Gjallarhorn. I'm not calling it a Gjallarhorn or whatever the fuck that shit is. I like the way it says it's Gjallarhorn, so I'm just going to say that shit. But once again, we're subject to the stupidity of the developers who don't think before they do something, and then they have to react to player anger. Now, personally, I think this part of the system is going to change. I think Bungie's really going to consider people's progress towards their weapons and change the shit before Friday when it occurs, because it just doesn't make any fucking sense. My guess is they're going to go with the obvious solution. People can trade in the weapons, but the perks at least remain intact. Maybe an additional damage mode will be added, or the final 4 damage modes will be reset, but it makes no sense to have unlocked all your perks all these months, use all your guns and perks, only for that shit to be reset so you can get a slightly more powerful weapon? Come on, man. I don't mind grinding out a bit more for a powerful weapon. I really don't. I don't mind having to spend countless mind-numbing hours grinding the same repetitive shit if that means my weapon will become more powerful. But resetting the progress I already made for the sake of more damage, it's just an artificial way of extending the length of the game. Leave the perks alone. Make us grind out for more damage and call it a day, but don't take away our progress and what we've already earned. Another part that they should have considered is that you can only trade in fully ranked up weapons. All this unranked shit should not be able to be traded in. It's totally fucking wrong. There is no reason my unranked rocket should get traded in and immediately have more damage than my fully ranked up one. That's a fucking joke. You can invest all the time to get the most powerful weapon, yet you trade in a brand new one for some heavy damage. What the fuck, man? Our armor is going to go through the same process, but the legendary weapons, as I mentioned before, they're going to become obsolete. This is just horrible fucking logic. Now, I know there are MMO players out there, and they're going to make the comparison to other MMO games where your older items become obsolete. And this argument has so many holes in it that it's like a homeless man's underwear. First of all, Destiny is not an MMO. Never has and never will be. And in Friday's Blueprint video, I'm going to get into more detail about this subject. But for now, we'll just say this. Would you classify Destiny as an MMO? No, because not even Bungie and Activision would do so, and they've gone out of their way to avoid that classification. However, they try to take elements from MMOs and pass them off as shooter elements like raids and loot caves and whatnot. But here's the biggest difference. MMOs release actual expansion packs, and they do so almost a year or two after the game. They get as much content as possible onto the disc, onto the retail version, then recreate content later. Destiny is rolling out 2 fucking DLC packs within 6 months of release. Think about that for a second. 1 year for Nerdcraft, 3 months for Destiny. And the content Bungie made is already on the fucking disc. The areas are there. The enemies are pretty much reskin identical content. The Undying Mind is the most disgusting example of something being rehashed and passed off as new. Bitch, please. It's the same fucking shit. So compare Destiny to MMOs, and it's a fucking embarrassment. MMO games put out 10 times the amount of content that Destiny did in their game, and they don't cut content for the sake of ripping off their fan base 3 months later. If you're gonna classify this as an MMO, for the few elements this game pulled from actual MMOs, then you can do that with pretty much any genre out there, as long as it pulls some elements from those. Shooter, open world, co-op heavy, whatever. This game actually has more in common with Resistance 2 co-op than any other game to date, and I can easily make a video on just how accurate that argument is, but I'm not going to do that in this fucking video, because in looking at the content the game offers, it's the same repetitive, over-marketed shit. The Wheel of Crota is in an area that people have already glitched into to show that there are placeholders for enemies, holding a place for a boss revealed 18 months ago. And the Undying Mind is basically taking place in the Black Garden, behind that hidden wall that people have been able to get through just to show that's where the boss is going to be. We're getting 3 story missions, which will most likely include Dinkle Cunt scanning something, and we're getting new weapons and armor, all of which have been released with a new patch, and we're getting a new raid. Big fucking deal. Basically, people want the raid. That's it. People are buying this for the raid, and when you add up all those fucking mistakes, you wonder why would anyone buy this, and it's simple. Their friends are buying it. Much like I mentioned with the Call of Duty peer pressure video, people buy it because their friends get it. With Destiny, a number of my friends are personally getting it. A number of people were sucking into Season Pass. And here I am, wanting to play with my friends, but they will be taking on new content, and I'm going to be sitting here debating about whether or not I want to give these motherfuckers more of my money. They'll be raiding, and I will either be stuck doing the same repetitive game that I already felt ripped off in buying, or having to go out and spend money on a new game and hope to fuck it's worth it. At the end of the day, what Bungie and Activision are doing with the increase in level caps, castration of older gear, re-leveling of the exotics, is either forcing people to buy the content or eventually become phased out. Bungie is artificially extending the life of a limited and unfinished game, because put it this way, if Destiny released on December 9th worldwide, or even last week, this content will be on the disc. Honestly, I'm saying this because I like Destiny. I do like Destiny, and I hope to play this shit some more. But I hope this DLC fails. I hope enough people stay away from this DLC, and they send the message to Activision and Bungie that this DLC and the Season Pass bullshit was overpriced for a half-assed incomplete game. I hope people stay away from the game, and they have their friends stay away from the game to show that gamers will not continue to keep being suckered every year. It really sucks that this is what video game design has come down to. Limited, unfinished content, over-marketed for almost 2 years, and then being told that the DLC will make the game better for an exorbitant price point that doesn't actually match the content that we already have. Bungie, I like Destiny, I want it to succeed in the long run, but having the DLC pack fail is the only way you and Activision will realize this garbage has got to stop. Basically, I'm gonna wait this shit out, I'm gonna see the reviews, I'm gonna see how many of my friends are actually playing this shit, and then I'll see if it's worth the rip-off price at this point. But right now, I'm still on the fence as to whether or not to buy the shit, because I truly want this game to get better, but this DLC is not the answer to that. This DLC is the opposite answer of what gamers have been asking for and what gamers need for Destiny to become that legend game that they talked about when they showed us 18 fucking months ago. Anyways, that was a long fucking rant. So as always, rate, comment, subscribe, and all that good shit, and I'll see you guys in the next video.